Listen for the sound. You already know it. The starter turning over in the dark, the ramp lights still on, the water black and flat and perfect. And then nothing. Not a dead battery. Not a bad connection. A fault code on a digital display that means absolutely nothing to you and everything to a Mercury dealer 45 minutes up the highway, who opens at 8 in the morning. That moment, that specific, quiet, expensive moment, is happening to American fishermen up and down every coast, every lake system, every tidal flat in this country. And the brand quietly picking up every one of those frustrated customers is not who Mercury's marketing department is worried about. It is Yamaha. And the fishermen switching are not newcomers who got lured in by a brochure. These are guys with 15 years of Black Max money sunk into Mercury equipment, who ran the numbers, called the dealer, waited 3 days, and made a decision they are not reversing. Here's what Mercury earned, and they earned it honestly. The Verado Inline 6 supercharged platform was a genuine piece of engineering. Smooth at high RPM in a way that older outboard designs could not touch. Quiet at cruise. The joystick piloting system on twin and triple Verado rigs is still class-leading for docking in tight quarters. Major boat manufacturers built entire product lines around Mercury as the standard specification because the motor made the boat better. Mercury Marine did not get to the top of the American outboard market by accident. They got there by building machines that serious fishermen respected. But Mercury built a business model on top of that engineering. And that business model is now burning the people who trusted the motor most. There are 3 reasons this is happening. 1 in the engineering history, 1 in the wallet, and 1 buried in the fine print. And together, they explain why Yamaha Blue is showing up on rigs that ran Mercury black for a decade. Start with what happened under the cowling, and what it cost Mercury a generation of customers to learn. The original Mercury Verado 250 ran a supercharged inline 6 engine. Forced induction, a supercharger mechanically compressing the air entering the engine to make more power than the displacement alone would produce. On a dyno, in a controlled environment, that system delivered smooth, strong, impressive power. On a boat running 200 hours a year in Gulf Coast saltwater, that supercharger was a spinning wear surface, sitting inside a corrosive environment. The inlet was exposed to salt air on every run. The intercooler, the component that cools the compressed air before it enters the engine, was plumbed through a system that accumulated corrosion over time. Supercharger-bearing fatigue in saltwater applications was a documented service reality, not a rumor. Mercury eventually acknowledged the problem the only way a manufacturer can. They discontinued forced induction in this horsepower class entirely. Current production, Mercury Verado 250 motors are naturally aspirated 4.6-liter V8 engines. Mercury walked away from the supercharged inline 6 specifically because saltwater won. But the fishermen who paid the price during that era, the ones who absorbed the repair bills, the dealer wait times, the supercharger service events that ran anywhere from $1,500 to $3,000, depending on what the technician found when the cowling came off. Those fishermen did not wait for Mercury to fix it. They bought Yamahas, and they did not come back. The Yamaha F250 runs on a different philosophy entirely, naturally aspirated. No supercharger, no forced induction, no intercooler loop exposed to salt spray. Yamaha's V6 block in the F250 uses variable camshaft timing, VCT, to optimize fuel delivery across the RPM range without relying on boost pressure to hit its power numbers. The mechanism is simpler. The failure modes are fewer, and Yamaha engineered specific saltwater durability into the architecture. Internal coating systems, freshwater flush ports designed into the block, corrosion resistance built in at the manufacturing level rather than addressed through dealer maintenance intervals. The measurable result shows up in service records. Yamaha F-Series motors in documented fleet use routinely run well past 3,000 hours before requiring significant bottom-end attention. The motor the Yamaha owner is running at 200 hours a year does not have a troubled engineering history behind it. It has a naturally aspirated engine that catches on the first crank at 4:30 in the morning and idles down without drama while you back the trailer down the ramp. Model to model, the current V8 Verado 250 looks like a monster on a spec sheet, but the Yamaha F250 wins where it counts, delivering a lighter transom weight, less mechanical complexity, and an ultra-predictable fuel efficiency edge, right in the 4,000 to 4,500 RPM cruising bracket. In a category where fuel costs are a line item, not a rounding error, that efficiency compounds. The engineering argument is not that the Yamaha is a more impressive motor. It is that the Yamaha is a more durable one. For a fisherman, those are not the same thing. If you run a saltwater rig and you have been watching buddies switch motors and wondering what they know that you do not, this channel breaks down the real numbers in the marine industry every week. Hit subscribe so the next one is in your feed when you need it. Now follow the money, because this is where the anger lives. Mercury's service model is built around the Verado's proprietary diagnostic architecture. Mercury's diagnostic platform, CDS G3, Computer Diagnostic System Generation 3, is the system that reads fault codes, clears calibration flags after component replacement, and handles ECU adjustments on Verado motors. Independent marine mechanics, the guys running shops outside the dealer network, do not have full access to that system. A technician who has worked on outboards for 20 years can pull the motor apart, replace the faulty component with a genuine Mercury part, and then hit a wall. The post-repair calibration flag that the motor throws to confirm the repair was completed correctly requires a dealer interface to clear. The independent shop cannot close the ticket. The motor goes on a trailer and drives to the dealer. A dealer diagnostic visit runs $250 to $450 before any actual repair work begins. That is the fee to plug in a laptop and pull the codes, on top of whatever the independent shop already charged to diagnose and fix the physical problem. The fisherman pays twice, once for the mechanic who fixed the motor and once for the dealer who clears the screen. That is not a service fee. That is a toll, and the fishermen paying it know exactly what it is. Run the math over 5 years on a twin-engine rig, 2 Verado 250s, 200 hours a year per motor, 2 unplanned dealer diagnostic visits per year on the pair, which is conservative for a rig running hard in salt. The gap between what this owner spends maintaining 2 Mercury Verados through the dealer network versus what his neighbor spends maintaining twin Yamaha F250s through an independent shop compounds into several $1,000s before a single major unplanned repair enters the calculation, and that calculation does not count downtime. A charter captain booking 120 fishing days a year and charging $1,500 to $2,000. A trip does not lose a diagnostic fee when his Verado throws a code on a Friday afternoon and the dealer is booked until Monday. He loses a Monday charter. He loses a $1,500 to $2,000 booking, plus the rebooking conversation with a client who may not call back. One lost charter weekend per season on Mercury versus 0 on Yamaha runs that math to a different place very quickly. Black Max money is supposed to buy reliability. When it buys dealer wait times instead, the loyalty calculus breaks down fast. The economic argument would be uncomfortable enough on its own. The structural argument is why it is not going to get better. Mercury's digital ecosystem has deepened with every new product generation. The current V8 Verado platform and the flagship V12 run on an expanded CAN bus architecture, a vehicle communication network that connects every electronic system on the motor, that has pushed more functions behind Mercury's dealer access portal. Every generation that adds a feature adds a dependency. The fisherman who buys a new Verado today is not buying a motor. He is buying into an ecosystem, and Mercury controls the gates. Right to repair legislation has been chasing this problem across multiple industries for years, and the marine category has been slower to see it than agriculture or automotive. But the pressure is building. Multiple states with significant recreational fishing economies, Florida, Louisiana, Texas among them, have seen right to repair legislation introduced or discussed that would apply to marine power plants, though the specific bills and their current status should be confirmed before broadcast. The FTC's right to repair policy statement from 2021 flagged warranty voiding service restrictions as a potential area of anti-competitive concern across equipment categories. Mercury has not made the kind of voluntary commitment to independent repair access that the agricultural equipment industry was eventually pressured into. The regulatory window is narrowing. Mercury is not moving toward it. In the meantime, the fisherman in a rural Gulf Coast county, 90 minutes from the nearest Mercury dealer, is the one absorbing the cost of that structural choice. His local marine mechanic has the part, has the experience, has the bay open. He cannot complete the job. The boat goes on the trailer. The fisherman gets gouged twice and stranded once. Yamaha's diagnostic system, YDS, Yamaha Diagnostic System, is available to independent shops that complete Yamaha's certification process. Not a wide-open platform, but structurally more accessible than Mercury's dealer-gated alternative. The independent mechanic who cannot touch a Verado can work on a Yamaha F250. That single practical difference is reshaping where fishing families spend their service dollars. Yamaha has held the top position in U.S. outboard market share by units sold for multiple consecutive years, according to marine industry registration data. In the segment that matters most to this conversation, 150 to 300 horsepower, the range that powers serious recreational and light commercial fishing rigs, Yamaha's repurchase rate is where the loyalty story becomes undeniable. Fishermen who buy one Yamaha F-Series motor come back for the next one. The regional concentration tells the same story. The Southeast, the Gulf Coast, the Pacific Northwest, everywhere that saltwater fishing is a way of life rather than a weekend hobby, Yamaha penetration is strongest and growing. Used market values confirm it. A used Yamaha F250 with documented hours holds its resale number relative to original price better than a comparable hour Mercury Verado in the same displacement class. Mercury still wins at the extremes. The V12 Verado 600 horsepower platform has no current Yamaha answer. For a center console built to run offshore at high speed, Mercury is still the specification. And OEM relationships with major boat builders continue to put Mercury on the transom of new boats leaving the factory floor, partly because Mercury's joystick docking system integrates more cleanly on certain hull designs. Mercury is not losing everywhere. Mercury is losing in the middle, and the middle is where most American fishermen actually live, not on 60-mile offshore runs to the edge of the continental shelf, but on early morning runs across bays and sounds and lake systems, where a motor that starts reliably and can be fixed by the mechanic 20 minutes away is worth more than peak horsepower. That retreat to the extremes is a pattern worth sitting with because it has played out before, not in marine, in motorcycles. For 2 decades, Japanese manufacturers built reliable, serviceable middleweight bikes at competitive price points, while the dominant American brand invested more in brand mythology than in mechanical accessibility. The loyal riders stayed loyal until the dealer wait times and the maintenance costs started feeling like a membership fee they had not agreed to pay. Then they bought something else. The American brand survived, but it lost the middle of the market, the everyday rider, the commuter, the weekend two-laner, and never fully got it back. What remained was a devoted core and a shrinking addressable market. Mercury is running the same play. The core will hold. The Verado faithful, the performance boaters, the OEM spec buyers, they stay. But the 200-hour-a-year fisherman who does not care about joystick docking and cannot afford 3 days on a dealer's schedule is not coming back. And when he teaches his son or daughter to fish off a Yamaha-powered rig, that is not a customer Mercury recovers in the next product cycle. Black Max money, once it walks out the door, does not come back on its own. What Mercury is about to lose in the trolling motor and battery integration market is a bigger story than the outboard war. And that is the next one we are breaking down. If you want to make sure you have the real numbers before you drop cash on your next rig, click the video on screen right now. If you want to see more, click the video on screen now.